Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another interview here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. I'm your host, Gabriel Garcia. Maybe you know me as the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill. And joining us today is our first double feature for the new year for 2026. And it is with a company I am so excited to feature here on the channel. Joining us today is the president and her co-founder here on the channel. Now, one of my guests, I should say, is the founder of the Moonlit Margins Sisterhood and co-president of a growing national literary group for women who love books and genuine connections. What began as a simple book club quickly evolved into something much deeper, a space rooted in intentional conversation, shared stories, and an authentic sense of belonging. As a military spouse and mother of four, she understands the power of community and the importance of creating spaces where women feel seen, supported, and inspired through shared experiences. Though the Moonlit Margins Sisterhood, or should I say, through the Moonlit Margins Sisterhood, she focuses on bringing women together through literature, evaluating storytellers, and fostering meaningful connections that extend beyond the page. And her partner in crime is not just a founding member and co-president of the Moonlit Margin Sisterhood. She is also a person who, much like her partner in crime, empowers women and fosters connections. And through her leadership, she has played a crucial role in shaping the Sisterhood's mission and vision. The organization focuses on providing a supportive space for women to share their stories, celebrate their achievement, and collaborate on initiatives that promote and personal and professional growth as well. Under her guidance, the Moonlit Margin Sisterhood has organized workshops, networking events, and community outreach programs to uplift and inspire members. Her dedication exemplifies the spirit of the sisterhood, making her a key figure in the organization and a role model for many. So, without further ado, viewers and listeners, I know I bumbled a few things, but it's because I am so excited to have these two women here on the show. Let's give a huge round of applause to our guests today, Kale Richardson and her partner in crime, Aleia. I'm probably going to butcher this. I apologize.
It's okay. It's Kaya and Aleia.
Okay, Kaya and Aleia, thank you both so much for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Again, apologies for the blunder in the beginning. I was just so excited to have you both. And I just got to say up front, coming across your guys' page, I was blown away by what I saw. I've seen a lot of companies, a lot of groups that are very similar, but your group really stands out because I definitely felt the genuine connection, and ultimately you both and those in your inner circle in the leadership of the sisterhood are passionate about storytelling and providing a safe space for creatives.
Thank you. And you're just gonna make me cry at the beginning.
I know.
Got it.
Like, okay. Just want to warn you, both of our faces leak very easily. So,
Like, do not make us cry so early. No, I appreciate that. I mean, it's definitely been a journey. We launched August 1st, 2025. So we didn't think that it would take off so quickly. It's really on the forefront. The thing that matters to us the most is obviously creating a safe space. But our authenticity and really just like creating a space where women can come together, whether it's for the love of books, whether it's for the need for community, no matter what, we just really value that. And we try to reflect it in our social media. I know a lot of people, when it comes to social media, they like, it's more so of like, oh, look at me. Oh, look what I'm reading. But for us, it's like, hey, we're here for you. Hey, we're reading this and this is how it made us feel. It touched our soul, or hey, we just interacted with this book and the narrators. We would love to talk to them. Come sit with us while we learn more about them. Like, we try to approach it differently in a way that's truly from our hearts. And the fact that you can see that just really means a lot. It means we're doing something right.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we dive in more about the sisterhood and of course its inception and what brought about, I would love to learn more about your guys' personal backgrounds before the sisterhood. So Kyle, we will start with you. Like, what was your background that led to meeting Aleia and the others and just bring about the sisterhood?
yeah, so I'm a military spouse, as I said in my bio. So I move around almost every 3 years. I started reading when I was young. I grew up in a really difficult household, just not the best background. So books have always been a safe space for me.
Mm.
Just somewhere that I retreat when I need to escape life or just a little piece of happiness. And so I kept that with me. You know, when you move every 3 years, you don't get to keep the same job, the same friends, the same coffee spot, you know, any piece of happiness that you build in the place that you move to, we have to leave it every 3 years. So it's really hard. So my husband was going on deployment last year, and he was set to leave for a 7-month deployment. And I just knew that with him leaving, we were going to move at the same time. So we had to move without him.
Mm.
And I just knew that I needed my tribe. Like I need a community. I wanted to mix a little piece of my happiness of books with the piece of happiness of really connecting with people. So I joined book clubs. I joined a couple of book clubs and I did not have a great experience. Nobody really talked to me. I felt like an outsider. Half of the book clubs, they didn't even read the book. So like I would show up ready to talk about the book and they would look at me like I was crazy. Like they were just there to hang out. So as much as I didn't originally go into it of I'm going to make my own book club, it turned into that because I needed that space. So I created it. So when I made the book club, the last book series I read was the Ravenhood series. And when I read about Tobias and how his family, his aunt, and how they took a horrible situation and turned it into, you know, a chapter by chapter space of belonging, a brotherhood, I was like, wow, I could probably do something like that. Like, what if, because I was thinking as a military spouse, I move every 3 years. So if I set up in Washington and then I had to leave in 2 more years, what am I going to do about my book club? So I said, okay, I'm going to make it virtual. That's important to me because I want to be able to be in it and make it inclusive for anyone that's involved. And then I was like, okay, well, what if I want to meet them in person for like coffee or something? What if I had it in every state, like the Ravenhood? And I kind of just like kept going with that. So I built it. And mind you, lots of bumps and bruises. I had no idea what I was doing at all. I'm a recruiter in real life. So I can recruit people, no problem. But building a business, like building a brand, that was new to me. So I really just did my research. I did as much research as I could, and I asked people around me that I consider to be wise people. And I just kept gathering feedback. I feel like feedback is a gift. So I definitely continue to gather feedback. When I opened applications, that's when I met Aleia. And honestly, it was just, we clicked. I want to say the first real conversation we had, I was telling her that I wanted to book an author and narrators to be able to interview. And she was like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We're going to set up a space. We're going to make sure we're organized. I was like, God, I love the way her brain works. Like finally, someone that's like as passionate about it as me. Cause I thought people would be like, you're a book club. Why are you interviewing people? Well, after the book, I have questions. And I also want to tell them that they're awesome and I adore them. You know, I appreciate their craft. So yeah, I met Aleia, and we around the time that I was building, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to give people titles. Like we're gonna have to, I gotta split the work. I'm doing all this myself. I gotta split it up. So when I split it up, I asked everyone, like, what titles would you like? You know, what would you like to do? And everyone was pretty like chill about it. They were like, oh yeah, you know, whatever you give me is fine. You know, I'm just happy to be here. And Aleia was like, I want vice president. I'll build this. She's like, I love this. I believe in this. This can be huge. I want to build this with you, brick by brick, tier by tier. I want to do this with you. And that's when I was like, you're not getting vice president. You're going to be my other half. So I was president at first, founder and president. And I was looking for VP. But after talking to her, I had to check myself and just reflect on like, why am I doing this? And recognize that her passion was equal. So I made her my partner, and we're now co-presidents. So
Nice, beautiful. That is a very, very beautiful story. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Now, Aleia, what about your story? Can you walk us through the lead up to that and what it means to you to be a part of a company like this that's kind of almost like unheard of? Like, it's not just a book club, it is something more.
Yeah.
literally our motto.
Yeah, a lot of it for me was kind of, the same. I really was looking at, the people that I was surrounded by, and really didn't feel like I had like a true, genuine connection. I had, people I call friends, I had people, acquaintances, coworkers, things like that, but there was really nobody that, I could turn to with the hard stuff, when I'm having a bad day, or when I'm excited about something. Like, I had my husband and my kids, which obviously are fantastic. But I wanted that with like a girlfriend, like I didn't ever have that. And for me, also loving to read and being really drawn into these stories that went hand in hand with, like, staying up at 2 a.m. and I'm reading this story that's making me bawl my eyes out, and I have nobody to talk to about it. Like, there's
Right.
nobody to call and be like, oh my God, did you get to this page yet? And I kept seeing, other people having those, connections with people. And it was just something that I, needed. And yeah, when I met Kaya, I was really like super nervous, and I was like, man, I don't know, like, if I even want to do this. Like, I'm so scared, like, because at that point it too, for me was, application based. So I filled out an application, and um really had some reservations, just because I'm kind of I would say kind of an introverted extrovert. Once I get to know you, I'm very personable, but I have my nervousness. So I was really just like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. But the second I started talking to her, it was like I've been talking to her my whole life, and it just felt like home. And ever since then, I felt nothing but pride and excitement, and everything that we're doing, just seeing it kind of brick by brick build into what it is now. I mean, like she said, it's not been easy. The ride has been rough. It's, we've cried, we've laughed, we've screamed, there's been a lot of emotions going on. But, when I look back on it and where we are now, I'm so incredibly proud every day that, like, I get to be a really big part of this movement. Because you're right. I mean, you can see millions and millions of book clubs around the world, and I feel like there's really a reason why we stand out in that aspect, and the fact that it's being seen by other people is really beautiful, and I'm just very proud and, honored to be a part of it.
Beautiful. Absolutely, truly beautiful, ladies. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So I guess now let's just dive right into the behind the scenes of the sisterhood. So you guys kind of already answered question one, which was what inspired you guys to, be a part of the sisterhood and create it for people looking for depth and connection. So now I'm going to ask you guys the second question, which is, how did you guys discover and share diverse voices within the literary community?
I feel like that's a multi-part answer, because we approach it differently every time. It can be a diverse voice because we discovered this book and it has diverse characters, and this author, really shined a beautiful light on each of that. And so we give a voice to the diverse characters and the author. And then there's also the point of us being intentional with who we invite into our space, of like, hey, let's review the backgrounds of each of them. Are they different? Are we interviewing the same kind of person, essentially? Like, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're giving every single person a voice, no matter what background. And the reason I say that is I consider diversity also when it comes to social media. A lot of people interview the top dogs, right? Like the Joe Ardens, the Teddy Hamiltons, and we've interviewed them too, don't get me wrong. But we treat them with the same respect and the same approach that we do someone with 100 followers. We
Right.
don't, we do not separate it. When we look at diversity, we look at everything, their background, what do they do, where do they come from, where are they going to, the genres that they write, the culture behind them and their books, because we've interviewed people that write for a whole different culture, like it could be a Caucasian person writing Hispanic characters, you know. Especially like Joe is a good example. He can do like 27 accents. So he is not, yeah, he could do, I'm really just spitballing there. He could probably do a billion. I'm not lying. That man is talented. There's a reason he's number one, right? But when we talk to him, for example, about his book was rooted in New Orleans. And New Orleans is very culture heavy. My husband's family is from Louisiana, and they are centered around music and culture and, you know, belonging and all of the things. And they bring it together with food and art and music. And when it comes to like who we're selecting and who we're talking to, we do keep it on like a first come, first serve basis, but we're also very intentional with it. And we do our research on every single person we invite into our space. So we try to be intentional with making sure we're not only interviewing people with high followers or, you know, one kind of person. We try to be as inclusive as possible.
Nice.
And I think that branches off into just the sisterhood as well. I mean, we're very, you know, I mean, we have different ages, different races, you know, all different, you know, walks of life. We've got it. So I mean, we try to do that not only on, you know, who we're interviewing, who we're reading, and all of that, but you know how we run our sisterhood as well.
Very true. Very true. And I just want to say this: if you guys are looking for a new voice to interview for a future episode later in the year, possibly even for 2027, then I will actually put the plug in here for an author I interviewed last year, and that was Tatum Carrington. And the reason why I say her is because not only was she the youngest person to be featured on my podcast, she was still in high school before going to college, but she's probably the first author that I've had on the show who actually took classes in high school to help with her book launch. She took an economics class to understand the financial aspect of being an author. She took a marketing class, which I guess where she's at, they allow that in high school, a marketing class to understand, okay, how do I do promotion, social media, and stuff like that. And she sold, I think, I may be spitballing here, I think 500 copies just like in the first year alone. So if there's anyone who has a very, very amazing story that I would love to give a shout out to, it is definitely her among many others. So Tatum, if you get a chance to watch this, you got to go on.
Yes.
You got to go on this show. I know you're busy with a lot of stuff, but if you have a time in your day, you did need to reach out to these people and definitely discuss an interview, because your story, Tatum, is very, very inspiring, especially for the next generation of authors who are also in high school and possibly even entering freshmen who are unsure. So just want to do that little shout out plug to her, because yeah, learning that on the show was quite the surprise, I must say.
That's amazing. That's
Dedication.
incredible. Yeah. And we're a sisterhood, right? So when it comes to uplifting women is just, that is our jam. Like we, especially in the narrator field, women are not as celebrated, because when we look at the book talk community, 60 million people, I know my For You page is 90% women, female readers, and about 10% male readers. So the female readers are always uplifting the male narrators, and they'll say a book and be like, oh, this book is narrated. Did you read this book is narrated by Teddy Hamilton. It's like, oh, there's a whole female that had equal parts in that book, and no one's talking about her, you know.
And
So
the majority of the books really are from the female's perspective. So I mean, you have like that's like really the main character that you're completely like looking past.
yeah, so no one says, like, in my experience, no one has come to me like super excited and been like, have you heard Heather Firth's new book? Have you heard India Louise's next book? Have you heard that? So like, it's always like, oh, Joe Arden did such a great job. So we really do try to be intentional with uplifting women, especially, I mean, you know, the history behind, you're an author, so I'm sure you know the history behind why women abbreviate their names on books, because they weren't selling when they would put Ashley Smith. They had to put AS, you know, or AR Smith, you know. So they had to give a male, you know, assumption to be able to be taken seriously. And I mean, as a woman, especially a woman of color, we battle this daily, you know. So I love that, and I would love to reach out to her and talk to her.
And the fact that you just mentioned narrators, I will definitely be in touch with quite a few narrators I've had the opportunity to meet and work with. And trust me when I say this, you will not be disappointed. They are some of the most incredible people I have had the chance to work with. Which that actually kind of leads into the next question, which is, can you guys share some of your favorite ways to foster engagement and interaction among your members, as well as people that you have interviewed on the sisterhood?
I have an answer, but like,
No, go for it.
Okay. So my favorite way is, and I say this all the time, is connecting. Once we've interviewed someone, we always create a group chat after. We send them gifts from us, just thanking them for coming and talking to us. But overall, we send them a message and just thank them for coming on, and we offer to continue to stay connected. So I will say connection is really, really important to us. But when it comes to elevating like our readers and connecting with our readers, we actually just revamped it this year. So what we were doing last year is we would pick a book each month, and we would read the book and talk about it on TikTok Live and, you know, in all of our posts on our pages. We have a combined following of, right now, I want to say it's like 40,000, but we just added 5 new sisters. So it's probably close to 100,000 now. But overall, we would pick the book as the month went on, like a couple of days before the month we picked the book. This year we changed it. We picked all 12 books in December last year. And actually, was it November, right? I want to say it was November. November last year, we had all of the sisters submit books they want to read in 2026. Aleia ran the program and like spun the wheel on TikTok Live. And we would pick a book, and sometimes we would tie on, because she would spin it a couple of times for each month. And we let the readers, our followers, pick it for us. Like, okay, this is what you're going to read in January. This is what you're going to read. So I would say that that is the most inclusive way, is we try to read with them. We try to engage with them. We pop into as many lives as we can daily. We repost any of their posts that we see that are positive and uplifting to the book community. And we constantly comment. It could be a simple video as like, oh, this book made me cry. We would comment and be like, okay, we'll cry with you. We got this together. So we try to just engage as much as possible. But when it comes to like the authors and narrators, we really do try to stay connected versus like, oh, can we interview and ask you questions? Okay, thank you. Like we're not a high and by, drive by kind of people. We're all about connection and authenticity.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think bridging the gap too between like our connection with the authors and the narrators and our connections with our members, you know, we're really intentional too about you know, even like she said, big name narrators, big name authors, down to the, you know, indie authors and smaller name narrators. We really try to make sure that we are, you know, pushing their content as well, the authors and the narrators, new books that they've got out. You know, we're making posts about it. We're reposting their posts. That way our readers are continually getting updates on what those narrators and authors are doing, to try to keep them connected as well. So, you know, we're kind of like the middleman, you know, making sure that we're staying connected with our members and with the authors and narrators, but that we're keeping them connected as well.
I
Nice.
forgot to say we go live a lot too. So we go live and we just interact. Like whoever pops in, we answer questions. We ask them questions too. I do feel like that's one thing that sets us apart is that a lot of book clubs or people that go live in general, it's all about them while they're on live. So we're not on live saying like, talking about the sisterhood the whole time. We're on live asking about you. If you pop in there, we're curious about you. And we invite people to read with us. So now that our list is posted for the whole year, you can buy the books ahead of time and also interact with us that way. So whether it's, being too shy to pop into the live, but you want to send us a message of what chapter you're on and how you're loving it, we answer every single message that we get. We've never not answered a message.
Nice. Awesome. That's amazing. And kind of going to the next question, which I think you kind of hinted at before. And the question that I want to ask you guys is, what do you believe is the biggest challenge women readers face in connecting with stories today?
Hmm. Women readers, not the authors and narrators, right? Like the readers themselves.
Absolutely.
I would, for me personally, I think a lot of like, I guess I'm speaking for myself. I might not be speaking for a whole group, but I know I've heard it before of like a lot of these stories are, young women who, young skinny girls who, don't really know much about life and, haven't really lived, haven't really experienced anything. So a way that I connect more with books that are ones that have like older females and, curvy girls and, women who are, CEOs of companies and, have lived lives, that makes me connect more with a story because it's more relatable for me personally. And I know a lot of, women feel that way because, obviously like we're not all 18 anymore, we're women with husbands and kids and, we want to read stories that feel like our lives too sometimes. So for me, I think that would be one of the biggest things that, is kind of like a hindrance for people connecting to a story as, a full grown woman. I don't know, Kaya, if you agree with that statement, but
Yeah, I just did a whole series on it on my page about just, books that don't have women's bodies that show life that's happened, right? Like everybody is perfect in 18. Just like Aleia said, the lack of relatability. So if you ever visit my TikTok page, you'll see like I just did a whole series on different parts of how books need to be more relatable. So I would say that's one struggle as a female reader. I would also say that the lack of strength when it comes to female characters, I would say is a really big struggle for me, at least. As someone that's had like a pretty difficult background, like a really difficult life, like I was homeless, I was a teen mom, I've grew up in an abusive household, like I've been through a lot. I would say it would be nice to see some real challenges for female characters and to see them overcome it, not like I need a man, I mean, take a cue from Disney. I don't favor a lot of Disney's, beliefs and politics and all the things. But one thing I can say is that the direction they're going with like Elsa and all these Disney princesses of like, they're great on their own, they can stand on their own. Not saying it can't be a romance, but does the guy have to save her? Does he have to like swoop in all the time? Can it ever just be she's a fantastic, amazing, strong-minded, capable woman that happens to fall in love? Can it be that? Can we have real challenges? So I would say that all still circles back to relatability.
Nice. And it kind of follows suit with the next question, which I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on, which is how do you support members who may also be authors, narrators, as well as readers who struggle to find a sense of belonging within their experience, where if it's reading experience or as authors trying to find that connection with their audience, because it is a very daunting task to write stories that relate to the audience. And I know from an author's perspective, we shouldn't try to write for a particular group in mind, but we definitely do want to write stories that definitely connect with a lot of people from many different backgrounds, and that's not easy. Same thing for narrators. Narrators have to train numerous hours to perfect a voice or an accent that they think would work best when playing a character. And unfortunately, after talking with a lot of narrators who become very good friends of mine, it is a little intimidating and daunting in the wake of what's happening in the creative sphere.
Yeah, for sure. Um, okay, so first part of it, can you repeat the first part of the question one more time?
Of course. How do you guys support members who struggle to find a sense of belonging?
That part. So, I would say that we work really hard to create that space in general. So when we start to share that space with them, we hope that it's automatically, like, over time, changing and improving. But I will say, when it comes to like the sense of belonging as like an author or a narrator, we try to provide feedback and just have real conversations. I can't tell you how many times we've gone into a space with like an author, narrator, even as a book club, thinking one way about a book or a character, and we all come out thinking completely differently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Aleia could speak on that. Like, I can't tell you how many times like I go last because I want to hear everybody's opinion because I know I'm going to change it 9 out of 10.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say it's really about just again, just depending on your community, like really leaning on your community in all aspects. We've talked to narrators that had an upcoming project and contacted us for feedback on like, hey, I have this character and I don't really know, I feel like I'm not getting it. Like, I feel like I'm not grasping it the way that I want to. Can I bounce some ideas off of you? And we've had authors do the same. We actually just had an author apply for the sisterhood. So, and
Ooh,
Aleia
nice.
is an author too. So, I mean, I feel like there's always going to be a space where we all come together and we overcome those challenges together. But I would just say it's really about like leaning on your community for sure.
Nice. All right. All right. And kind of the next question I want to ask you guys, and Aleia, maybe you can also add thoughts to this, is from the books that you guys have read as a book club and as a community, what themes or genres do you believe truly resonate most deeply with your members and readers?
um, well, I would say probably, we're like some dark romance girlies, I think though that like a lot of people when that's said though, like, right, we kind of like shy away from saying it a little bit because there's a lot of like mixed feelings about it. There's like the views on it
Mm-hmm.
are that it's not real, they're not really books, like, oh, you're just reading it for the spice or whatever. But honestly, I really believe that the heart of those stories really do teach lessons. They help heal. I believe that the power that those books actually have to like make you a better person and make you look at your life and your circumstances and grow from them. It's actually really beautiful, and I wish that there wasn't such like a taboo feel about
Mm,
reading dark romance because they're really beautiful stories. They're not always perfect, and I think that's what's great about them is, again, it circles back to relatability. That life is not perfect. It's not sunshine and rainbows and romance and happiness. There's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of pain, and I think dark romance allows the ability to feel like that's okay,
right.
and that you're fine even though you have a broken situation, that like you're gonna learn from it and you'll be okay afterward. So I think that's I would say the biggest genre for not only our group but the people that follow us as well. um and I'll probably always stay there. I like to venture a little bit, but yeah, that's where my heart's at.
Nice, nice. Kaya, do you have any add-ons
No,
to that?
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, genre wise, we're different. Like, I love fantasy was my first love. I'm in the dark romance space right now, and I don't know if that's where I'll always be. I feel like I'm definitely a mood reader, so I could end up getting out of that. But I will say most of our follower base are dark romance lovers, and I agree with Aleia on there is a stigma. There is this I don't know, it's like the rumor mill just took off and said if you like dark romance, you only like smut. But I can say that dark romance highlights the good, the bad, and the ugly, and sometimes you got to
Mhm.
talk about the ugly baby, sometimes you just got to let a book heal you, and I feel like dark romance, it touches on so much at once that like I've never been on an emotional roller coaster like I have in dark romance.
Mm.
You start the book with like, oh, okay, this is cool, to like, what the heck? And then you're crying and you're laughing and you're, you know, what I love the most, honestly, is that it constantly uplifts. And I think this is where the stigma comes from, is it uplifts you exploring your sexuality to the fullest. I
Mm.
think that is why it has that stigma, that stereotype, because one thing that it does encourage is like, don't be afraid of it. You're not shamed. Nothing's wrong with you. You're amazing. It's okay to like these things, and here's how we go about it. And you get to learn more. So they always say in the beginning, this is not a how to, but in a way I feel like it is, because it creates that safe space for you, and it normalizes things, and it makes you not feel like a crazy person. So
Very well said. Very well said. I also think it can also be added to dark academia as well, which also kind of is misunderstood. That and Gothic literature. While I don't read Gothic literature or dark academia a lot, I do read some from my fellow author friends. In fact, one of the first books that I did read that was Gothic literature was actually from my friend Raven White, owner and founder of Curious Corvid. And that was a very, very interesting book. It was a different take on the vampire mythos, where vampires were not just monsters, or not solely monsters, sorry, but also people who were suffering from a disease and illness that forces them to consume blood. Some of these vampires are drug addicts, where they will literally go after any person, no matter if that person is sick or dying, they need blood. And unfortunately, those vampires become hooked on said blood, or that person's an alcoholic, or that person has done any form of substance abuse. It's a very interesting take on vampires that you don't typically see a lot in fiction, and I greatly encourage anyone to read it. It is dark in the sense of its themes. There are some mature warnings, so I would say that first and foremost. But if you understand that, you will definitely enjoy the book, which is The Sentimental Dead by Raven White, which I highly recommend
I
checking
love that.
out.
Yeah, I love that. Vampires is right up my alley.
Nice. And now we come to a question which I'm very intrigued to ask you guys, especially since your guys' social media page has blown up over the last few months, because this has sparked a discussion I love asking creatives, which is, what does it mean to be a creative in the digital age? Whether that's being an author, an editor, a narrator, a book reviewer, because the industry has changed, the world has changed. I mean, 20 years ago, being seen as an indie company or indie whatever in the publishing world was seen as a joke. It was seen as a lesser form. But 20 years have gone by, and there are so many small press companies, hybrid companies, book communities. It's absolutely insane. And that ties into social media. Social media, when it's used correctly, can be a haven for those who are looking to find that connection, to find that authenticity. But as I'm sure you guys will definitely agree, social media, like everything else, is a double-edged sword. We leave ourselves exposed to the negative side, to the harsh truth, the trolls, the hate speech. And I don't know if you guys have ever encountered this on your social media page of possibly people leaving comments on certain books you are having featured for your lineup for your book club, or maybe an author that is being highlighted or spotlighted. It's absolutely insane. And that can throw all of us into a funk and make us question, are we even doing something that's going to be memorable or authentic or just being engaging? That imposter syndrome is really, working overtime. So ultimately, my question to you is this, ladies. With all that said and more, what is still discipline you guys, you and your fellow sisters, to continue down the path you guys started, sticking true to your core values, not just as a community, but as individuals, and just persevering in the face of a landscape that is ever changing?
Aleia, you go ahead.
I mean, I think that we're, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. I feel very proud that we have the ability to have these things at our fingertips so readily, because it was, for, I don't know how many decades, I'm sure people were doing these things and they didn't have that option, they didn't have, it wasn't as readily available to them, and it does make things harder. Authors publishing their books, people reading the books, not having that community just kind of right at your fingertips. I do feel like we are very blessed for that. As far as any negativity, I mean, we do have situations, whether it be from in regard to an author we're reading, or maybe a narrator that we support. There's always going to be those people that come out and try to say that we shouldn't support them, or we shouldn't read them, or we shouldn't push their content. And for us, we've always strived to be uplifting, and we hold that same tone no matter what person they're talking about. We are always about just making a space of light, because there's enough things in the world that are dark and ugly and rough. We want our
Mhm.
space to always be centered in a place of love and support and light. So I think that we just really, we hold on to that in those moments, that we're really being true to, like you said, what we stand for, and that's just being supportive. So we I don't think, and Kaya, you can speak on this further if you want, but I think we've had a couple instances where we've had to be like, we're going to support who we want to support. We are here to enjoy books and enjoy narrating, and as far as personal opinions of other people, we're not really here for that.
Mm.
And I think, luckily, as far as I know, it hasn't been an astronomical amount of negativity.
Right.
We've only had it in a few spaces, so I think we've done really good so far, just kind of sticking to what our goal is, and our vision for our sisterhood, of just being a place of support. um and I don't know, Kai, if you've encountered anything more than that, but I think we're
No,
we're pretty lucky, I think.
yeah, I'd say it's only been a couple that have commented on some of the people that we've interviewed or we've chose to align ourselves with, and we just, our mission and values are still the same. We uplift the book community, and these people, are very prominent people in the book community, and we see them as good people, and we're going to continue to support them. We try to be Switzerland. We don't want to like pick a side, because there are
Right.
sides to book talk. The truth of TikTok and book talk is there are sides. There's some
Mhm.
really ugly sides. When I first joined book talk, it took me months because I was terrified. I
Mm.
was I was on TikTok, but I wasn't on the book talk side. I visited the book talk side. And when I say I was terrified, I really was. It took me 5 months to make a video with me being on camera. because I was so scared of how people were going to treat me, and the trolls and just all the things. So when I made the sisterhood, if you look on all of our content, I have been running the page. We just started running it together, but I've been running it for months, and I would only post like maybe something, a clip of us, or like a clip of us interviewing, but everything is also off camera. And we committed to this year, like Aleia and I doing videos together, and me actually being on camera outside of an interview. And I'm terrified because it is a double-edged sword. And as much as we uplift the book community, sometimes they're not as nice back. I will say the good parts are like Book Talk saved Barnes and Noble, right? Like Barnes and Noble was able to stay in business and then go on to build 128 more stores, because Book Talk is 60 million people. So that's great. It's also terrifying. So I would say, like Aleia said, we just try to root ourselves in our values, and we try to stay grounded in that, and uplift the book community, and then also stay as positive as possible. We try to be as kind as possible. Some people are just having a bad day, and you're a target, and that doesn't make it okay, but we try not to like meet them where they're at in that space. We just try to uplift and be kind. I will say it's hard sometimes, and I'm still terrified every time I go live. Every time that we say we're going to make a video, I am terrified, and I don't know if that will ever go away, but I just try and do my best and stay authentic and be true to who we are, and hope that it works out.
Absolutely. Very true. And kind of with that in mind, how do you guys handle feedback from your members to ensure that their needs are met within the community? And again, on the topic of community, what do you wish women knew about building meaningful connections through reading and storytelling?
I would say, like, feedback wise, even when I was just president and I didn't have Aleia, I asked for feedback. We also have it on our website of people can submit feedback that have interacted with the Moonlit Margins Sisterhood, because feedback is a gift. So I think that the minute you stop being receptive and you stop having that goal of being better than you were yesterday, better than you were last week, better than you were last year, I think that's when you'll be in some real trouble. So we really try to stay receptive, and accept feedback the best we can. We self-evaluate a lot. Every week, Aleia and I talk about how things went and what we could have done better. I can't tell you how many times I've just messaged her alone and been like, hey, I could have handled that better. I'm sorry, or hey, I wish you would have told me that in the moment, because I don't want you to sit with this, So we try to be as aware as possible, for lack of better words. And then when it comes to the sisters, we try to create that safe space to where they do feel they can talk to us. So we had a sister call us yesterday and give us some feedback, and it was really beautiful. A 5-minute, 10-minute conversation with anyone else turned into, we were on the phone 3 hours. So it was really beautiful that we just thanked her over and over that she felt she can tell us. Essentially, it was just her asking for more responsibility, and we said, we've tried that before and people didn't show up, and she gave us the feedback of like, I will show up. I know what I committed to, and I don't think it's fair that you're making that assumption without even giving me a shot. We're like, okay. So it was very beautiful. I mean, it was nice to be told like, hey, pause, pump the brakes, and evaluate me as a person, not comparing me to the past sisters that we've had. So I think, and that's the thing, is that's why we're a sisterhood and not just a book club, because what do sisters do? They fight, they love each other unconditionally, all the things. So I will say that we've taken all of that into consideration, that we're building and we're not perfect, and we're going to continue to do great things and mess up too. So I think feedback is honestly the most important part of that. And we get it in every space. When we interview someone, we ask them afterwards for feedback. When we interact with other people, we ask for feedback. We have it on our website. We ask our sisters all the time. So I would say we're very intentional with that.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And kind of like the last question before I go into my favorite segment, the business side. How do you maintain the authenticity of each member's voice while promoting inclusivity within the sisterhood?
I would say I don't want to like take over, but I do have an answer if you want to take a minute.
That's a pretty deep one.
I would say the first thing we did is we created the Moonlit Corners. And that is basically encouraging each sister to, because we have our book of the month that we read together, right? And we review together and we read with our followers. But what about their voices? What about what they do? What books are they reading on the side? How are they showing up in their community? So for 2026, we did a few things. 2025, we were really just getting acclimated and getting to know our new sisters. 2026 is when we're really putting everything into play. So a couple of things that we put in place was, one, we're going to be interviewing them on live to give a chance for us to get to know them better in the moment. Even though we do that intentionally, like on the side, we have coffee dates where we virtually meet with our sisters and get to know them. But we'll be interviewing them on live to allow our followers to get to know them and also to allow us another moment and space to get to know them. So it really gives them that moment to have their voice and say what they want to and, you know, shine as beautiful as they should. And then we have our corners, which is another way that each sister, we each picked a template and we post their reviews from their point of view and their books that they're reading on the side. We carve out space on each of our socials for that. And then we also post it on our website and encourage them to do the same. That's something we tried and we're actually not sure if we're going to keep for 2026 because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for them to do. So we're going to touch base this month to see if we're going to keep that. But overall, we try to, even in our interviews, let their voice shine. They get to ask questions. All of us ask questions. All of us get the same amount of time with the narrators and authors. So yeah, I would say like we try to just keep them involved in every space and everything that we do and elevate them as much as possible.
And I think one of the aspects that I think it was new for me in like a leadership role was, you know, I've been a part of, you know, companies where the leadership, they handle everything, right? So I think by giving seats, like she spoke about earlier, you know, we did give roles to other sisters to, you know, help out and kind of put their creativity on the forefront. So we do have, you know, certain roles where they can kind of do that, you know, within the sisterhood. But we do also, when we're having the interviews, we do give the option for them to run those interviews too, for them to kind of just be like the face of it. For, you know, if it's, you know, one of their favorite authors or one of their favorite narrators, that they can kind of take the lead seat in that. And that kind of gives them a little bit more, you know, space to have their voice heard a little bit extra. And that's really rare, I think. Like I said, I think with most companies, it's like the leaders are always the ones that want to handle everything. And we kind of tried to, you know, we're intentional in trying to be different in that space too, and giving kind of everybody in the sisterhood a chance to really have a meaningful part of the sisterhood and not just kind of being here reading books. So that's another way I think that we kind of do things a little bit differently to let their voices be heard a little better.
Awesome. And 1 second, ladies, I gotta open up the blinds. It's looking really bleak in my room. There we go. Now
Better.
I didn't think it was bad until I see you. That's a lot brighter.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Definitely. And before we actually go into the business side, there was actually a question that I added that was actually a fan question that one of my viewers wanted to ask you, ladies. And that was, of these stories and authors that you guys have interviewed thus far, what's the most powerful story that you guys have shared within Moonlit Margins, and what impact did it have on you guys as a community?
You go.
I would say, I think two things come to mind, and I don't think I could narrow it down if I wanted to. I would say one story that was shared in an interview that had a huge impact was Aleia's story of we were asked by a narrator about books that impacted us and like healed us. And I think Aleia's story reached a lot of women. Because I remember getting messages afterwards of like, I was shamed for reading that book, or I was shamed for, liking that book. And I never thought of it that way. And it even impacted me in the moment when she was asked that. I was like, oh, I never thought of that book that way. And now my opinion's forever changed for sure. And I had more respect for Aleia just sharing that space with her. And it wasn't expected because we give space at the end for authors and narrators to ask us questions. And so we didn't know that that would happen. And honestly, in the moment, I was jarred in the most beautiful, amazing way. I was stunned and I sat with that for a minute. So I would say that's one. And then the other one that came to mind was when we first started interviewing, and we were asked why we created the sisterhood, like what was the point behind that. And we went on live the next day and was talking about it, and we got a ton of I want to say we got like 15 applications in one night, because and all of them said it's because of the live that I just saw tonight. Like the space that you created, the way that you all are with each other, the way that you create this loving and like powerful connection through each other, and even with the book world, it's really beautiful. And I want that. I want to be a part of that. So like both of those are very equal to me, because I feel like it was groundbreaking in multiple ways. But those are the two moments that came to mind for me.
Yeah, I don't think it's any one specific moment for me. I think I'm constantly amazed by how people feel about what we're building and how drawn they are to it. I mean, we have a saying that like we're literally just a girl, and like that's kind of how it feels like most days, that we're just two girls, we're just some girls who like started this book club, and when we started reaching out to narrators and authors for our interview lineup of 2026, I think that was almost the moment for me that really was like eye-opening, because obviously for like the members, the readers, their views are going to be a little bit different. But when we started hearing big name authors and big name narrators being honored to like share space with us, I think that to me was kind of like, oh man, like it's kind of wild that like we started out as just girls with books, and now we're holding these spaces with these amazing people who create these amazing worlds and bring these stories to life, and they're honored to share space with us. We both had moments where we were like, no, but we're honored. Like, we appreciate that, but like, really, the honor is with us. Like, so I don't know. I think that for me would be something that has been the most eye-opening thing for me doing this, is that we're creating something that moves people so much that like they're excited to share space with us. I think that's really cool.
Nice. And now that you dive into the business side of the Moonlit Margins, so we'll start with a little icebreaker question. So, as you ladies mentioned earlier in the interview, you guys started back in October of 2025. And since then, you guys have absolutely skyrocketed. But I imagine that there were some hiccups and hurdles along the way. So, the first question, or I should say the icebreaker question, is looking back on your guys' journey thus far, in terms of marketing the Moonlit Margins, creating the brand, finding a platform that was going to generate the most interaction, and getting a website ready and all that stuff, is there anything you guys would have done differently?
For sure.
I would say probably making sure that we had like all of that kind of ironed out in the beginning, like before we started doing interviews and doing all of those things. It was kind of something that we were like, oh, again, I don't know if it falls back to just thinking that we were just going to be a small group of women. So we didn't really think that we needed that presence. And it wasn't until we started seeing how rapidly it was growing that we were like, okay, like we probably should have a YouTube. We should probably have this. We should probably have that, you know? So I think that would have been something that I would have liked to, if I had the chance to do it over, I would have created those avenues first so that we could have had it would be a little bit more seamless. You know, the growth with those things would have been, you know, from the start instead of trying to, okay, now we have this channel created here. Now let's try to go back and bring all of our memories from there and bring them into this. It would have been, you know, a little bit more tailored for each avenue. So for me, that's I think what I would have done differently.
That was exactly my first thought. I actually, when I first started the Sisterhood in July, I want to say I had it. So when I had the idea, like it wasn't launched. That's when I like had the idea and everything. I started it on my page, and I was doing Sisterhood stuff and Kaya stuff, and then I realized I was losing myself in the Sisterhood, and I wasn't my own person anymore. And I pumped the brakes immediately and was like, okay, this is great. But I need to separate presidential Kaya and just Kaya. And so then I made the Sisterhood page, and I just wanted somewhere for people to apply. So I made a website. Never made a website in my life. I'm not Tony Stark in a cave with a box of scraps. Okay. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay. And I made this website in like 5 hours, and it turned out okay. I mean, I watched a bunch of YouTube tutorials. I'm just a girl. I did my best. And we started getting applications, and then we started going to book events. They're like, oh, well, do you have Instagram? Do you have this? Do you have that? I'm like, do I need all of that? Can I just be a girl with a website and a TikTok? Like, do we have to have all of this? And now I avoided it. I'm not going to lie. I avoided it. And I wish I didn't. I wish, like Aleia said, I would have created all of that in the beginning and really believed in myself and believed in the Sisterhood. And not, I'm a very simple person. So, you know, give me tacos and chips and queso and I'm your girl, you know, but this was not tacos and chips and queso. This was the whole city, you know, this is the whole US. We're getting applications from Chile and Australia, you know, like I just wanted to be, you know, a girl with a book and simple, but it took off. And I regret not having that foresight, like not really being, I don't know, as hopeful, I guess. And not understanding the power of social media, because social media did that. It took off because of social media, and I just didn't think it would. I say this all the time, I didn't think a lot of people would care. I really didn't. And so we just launched our YouTube like this last month.
Yeah.
We just built our Instagram like 2 months ago. We just launched our TikTok, the separate page, late July. We launched the Sisterhood in August, and all of them are already at thousands of followers. So it's wild. I was looking at our analytics, and we get 70 views to the website like every day, minimum. So like it's been, and I know that's not a lot, like we're not Google, right? But that's a lot for me, for just a girl that built a site that just wanted you to be able to have somewhere to apply, you know? So it's been, and you can see where people visit the site from. So it's all over the world. They're looking at it from everywhere, and that just blows me away. So I would say I would have definitely built everything out first, then launched.
Absolutely. And I know the feeling as well. When I actually crafted my first website earlier last year, I was actually working with a friend to help me create it, but I realized that, well, they you know, their work took over, which completely understand. So I was like, okay, I have to do this on my own. So I looked at other people's websites to get an idea. And through some trial and error, I was able to create the Wandering Scribe, even though it will say Wandering Scribe. Wandering was taken by somebody, so I had to go with Wandering. But I was able to create my brand as the Wandering Scribe, which also acted as my author page. And so far, the engagement has been, it's been great. And funny enough, I rarely tell people this story, but I very rarely had little to no social media presence up until I want to say 2019. I did not have an Instagram, don't use Facebook at all. But I only got Instagram to connect with some friends that I have met at an event. So made an Instagram. And I realized, okay, this is good. And just started following people. But as time went on and I started doing the channel, I realized my Instagram was changing, or rather, it needed to change. And that's when I decided to make it my author Instagram. And it was a lot of challenges. It was some hurdles. Got hacked a few times, had to change it. It was not fun, but I also realized from a really good friend, shout out to Kaylee Robinson for this, is that for authors on social media, how to really get engagement is probably one of the harshest things to do is unfollow the people you don't have the most engagement with. And that was quite an eye-opener. As soon as I started unfollowing those I don't have a lot of interaction with or engagement with, feed and interaction skyrocket from people that I did connect with. And being a part of engagement groups has really changed. And it's in awe of like how much my presence on social media has changed from just a guy who didn't want to be on social media for a very, very long time. But that comes with, understanding the kind of person we want to be, which then leads into this other important question, which is understanding who our audience is. Now, I know, as you guys have mentioned before in other questions, that mainly you wanted, among many things, the sisterhood to be a community for women to uplift women. And I imagined that probably was definitely the thing in the beginning, but looking at the engagement on social media and the involvement, maybe there may have been some conflicts of, do we want to branch out? Do we want to kind of condense or something, or all that and more, which is very daunting and very, very intimidating to understand who our audience is. Much like as authors, Aleia, I know you can definitely agree that as authors, we struggle with who exactly are we trying to create for? Because first and foremost, as I'm sure you ladies will agree, you guys are the target audience. You know exactly what you want. But when producing content or creating stuff for others, that's when the business hat goes on. Because I will say it, which I'm sure you guys will definitely agree, we as creatives are not the most business savvy unless we have backgrounds in business, and that's an entirely different story. But generally speaking, we don't have that business market mindset that comes with a lot of trial and error. So ultimately, the question I pose for you both is, when you guys began to see the engagement on social media, the amount of applicants that were applying to become sisters of the Moonlit Margins, how did you guys stay true to your audience, so to speak? And how difficult was it to find that audience in the beginning?
It's still difficult. I mean, a lot of our videos won't go over 300. I think we post twice a day, mostly once a day, sometimes twice a day. And I want to say out of all the posts from just the past week, 2 of them are over 1,000 views, and then the rest are at like 300. And that's without sponsoring them or anything. So I would say it's still difficult. I mean, it's a daily challenge. We haven't gotten to the point where our videos are in, every single one is over 1,000 or, they go viral overnight. We haven't had that yet. And I say yeah, because I'm hopeful. But I do want to comment on what you were saying earlier before I finish answering this, is that that's incredible. Like, I'm in awe of how you stepped outside of your comfort zone and made your website and did everything for someone that did not want to be on social media. I understand that because I'm terrified of social media. So I just want to say, like, that's really incredible. And I'm blown away by your story and how you overcame that. So I just didn't want to gloss over that because I thought that was really, really incredible.
Thank you, Kaya. Thank you. Aleia, do
Yeah.
you have any thoughts on this question?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we're constantly, trying to move in, and I mean, social media in of itself is ever growing, and it's ever changing. So I think just making sure that, we're being mindful of the content that we're putting out. I think that's the best way that we're going to try, be able to kind of combat that a little bit, because she's right. I mean, it's hard to really find, what that thing is that pushes people over that little hump of, then becoming viral or being that in the 1,000 views, for all of their videos. But I think just making sure that we're, kind of staying with, how it's changing and how it's growing, and we're changing and growing with it. Like she said, I'm really hopeful. That's something that, it's kind of our goal is to, get that interaction, that engagement up a little bit. Um, but it's a tricky, I think it's a really tricky little situation. Um, and that's kind of, we'll just do our best to, kind of grow with that.
I would
Very
say to
true.
answer like your second part of that of like how we stay true, I will say like maybe on our personal pages, I know like Aleia will do some that go along with the trends or like what do they call it, the algorithm, like what everybody's doing. She's really in tune with like, okay, this is hot now, and hence why she has the most followers out of all of us. For me, I'm more so of like what am I feeling right now on
Mm,
my personal page and what resonates with me right now, and I go with that. And I will say Aleia does that too, but I notice more of like if this trend is going, she will like stay up with it. She stays up with the trends, which is how we balance each other. But I would say when it comes to the sisterhood page, um, we stay rooted in who we are. So I'm not hopping on the trends. I'm not doing any of that on the sisterhood page. For me, it's more so of we are your community. That's the first line on our page is we are your community. So what does the community want? Well, if we're in the book community, they want books. So we give them, information of like, hey, this is who we're interviewing. Here's an update with the sisterhood, but we keep it rooted in books and, just uplifting the book community, and we stay there. So there's a lot of trends, a lot of stuff going on, but I would say we just stay grounded in who we are and hope that people can see that and respect that and learn to love it.
mm, very
Maybe one
true.
day we'll hop on trends, but for now, we're really just staying rooted.
Yes, very true. And let's talk about staying rooted, begs the question that I love asking people, especially those that are either like narrators, editors, or communities, much like yourself. And that is the power of saying no. Now, what do I mean by saying no in this context, as I'll use some narrators and editors, for example, is that they are providing a service and they get to decide who they want to work with. Now,
Mhm.
they may not show up, the red flags, so to speak, initially, may take a while, but evidently, possibly some things will come up, and it may not even be red flags. It may be realizing that I'm not the right person for this project. And that can be very difficult to say no because, everyone will be thinking, oh, am I throwing away my big shot, my big chance? In one perspective, but another perspective could be the more serious kind, which is, as I mentioned, the red flags, things that just pop up every now and then, but ultimately uh, boil over into a very serious thing. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever encountered this either with some applicants to join the sisterhood, any authors or narrators who have probably messaged you about being featured in an interview or even a book that possibly a sister recommended for a prospective reading club event. Ultimately, how do you guys maintain your guys's the word, lack of better use, brand of the Moonlight Margins Sisterhood, but ultimately sharing with other creatives and other sisters that even with on their personal page or being a member of the sisterhood, that collectively we have that power to say no. And I definitely think in that sphere, in the publishing world, in the creative world, the power of saying no doesn't get a lot of recognition.
Yeah, I would say no. One of our biggest things is no is a full sentence. We try to empower each other to say what is on your mind and, meet you where you're at. So the first part of that is the interviews. We have had days where we interview 15 people and we only said yes to 3. We have a template that we really put our heart into crafting that says, we appreciate you applying. We appreciate you spending time with us and allowing us to get to know you. Right now, we're not going to move forward with your application. But this isn't a no forever. It's just a no for now. And we try to, really express that in a sense of, sometimes it's just not the right moment, or maybe the interview just didn't go well. Because I don't know if we told you, we are application based. So you can't just join. We're very intentional about who we invite into this space. And it's not to be cliquey or anything, or, gatekeep. It's because we want to make sure that your heart is in this and you're in it for the right reasons, and that we would be proud to call you a sister, So I would say with the applications, it breaks our heart every time. We don't want to say no. I hate that we have to do it, but we also have to be intentional with who we invite into our space and protect the sisters that are in it. And then also when it comes to like authors and narrators, for example, this is the first year we've had to say no to them because we booked up in less than 2 weeks for the whole year. Everyone was, between people reaching out and the ones we reached out to, no one told us no. Everyone said they were honored. People knew about us, like word of mouth. Wild. So it broke our hearts to have to say no to interviewing. After we booked up, a lot of people reached out and was like, hey, I saw, you guys are doing interviews this year. Can we get in? And we, every day since the new year, we have had to say no to someone, and it is crushing us. So
yeah, there's multiple days where both of us will be like, are we sure we don't want to just like add a date in? Because we don't like saying no. It really, like she said, it's really upsetting that we have to. We wish we could just share space with every single person, but we're also thankfully very mindful of wanting to stay at a point where I don't know, for me, like I don't ever want to feel like it's a job. And I want to make sure that I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And I think that, kind of keeping it a little bit reined in is going to allow for that to, stay that way. So even though I have moments where I'm like, I'm just going to say yes to everybody, I know that there's a reason behind why we have to say no. So, there's a reason for everything.
So
yes.
To wrap that up, we are booking for 2027 already. It's January 2026, and we're booking for 2027, which is wild. We already cried about it. Like, her and I just sat with that for a second and just cried, because that's just really incredible that so many people want to share a space with us. So we are booking up for 2027. I imagine we'll be completely booked up pretty soon for 2027. So I think it's beautiful. And we, like Aleia said, we're trying to avoid burnout. And we want to make sure that we're intentional. We're doing this because we love it, not because people want to only share space with us. So no is a full sentence. We have to flex that sometimes, and it sucks.
Yes. Very, very true. Very, very true. And now we come to the final 2 questions of this amazing interview, ladies. And before we go any further, I just want to say, talking with you both has made me realize I should have began talking with you guys last year, because I would have loved to have had you guys on my show for 2025. But everything happens for a reason, and I'm so excited to have you here as part of the January lineup for 2026. And from these discussions, having with you both, I now get a fuller picture of the sisterhood and its mission. And I wish you and your fellow sisters the best of 2026 going into 2027.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're
You're welcome.
nervous. We're just going to do our best.
Yeah.
Well, just like all creatives, we go through the hurdles, but we come out stronger. And with that said, we now arrive at the final two questions, which I'm going to combine together because they actually do blend really well. Throughout this interview, you ladies have shared with us, the Wandering Scribe, all about the goal of the Moonlit Margins Sisterhood, how it's not just a book club in a traditional sense. It is a community. It is a haven. It is, above all, a safe space now more than ever in the ever-changing world, whether that's reality or social media. And I actually shared it with a friend of mine, and he actually gave a very great answer, not answer, but compliment to the sisterhood. And I'm going to be paraphrasing, but they said that the Moonlit Margin Sisterhood is a place for those that have felt that they never could have a happily ever after, so to speak, in the bookish community, in the book talk world, and realizing that they can have that and be in the company of people that they trust as well. As you guys have mentioned, you want to be a haven for those who may be voiceless, who may not have the large following, who may just be starting out as authors or maybe as writers, or maybe they're readers who want to tell people what they are just read but don't have an outlet. You guys are that avenue. So at the end of the day, what do you want people who are now meeting you guys as the representatives of the sisterhood, what do you want them to take away from the sisterhood, its core mission statement and values, and ultimately leave them with a pearl of wisdom to reflect upon?
I mean, for me, I think you summed it up pretty beautifully. I mean, to say that, like, we are giving that space to people to, that maybe their whole lives have felt kind of alone and that they didn't have that sense of community, that there's people that feel like we are that for them. I mean, I think that if that's all that ever happened from here on out, if all we ever did was make people feel like they had somewhere to be, where they could be themselves and feel like they were a part of something that cared about them as a person, I think I would be happy with that. Just to give people that sense of love and support and community. I wouldn't probably really need anything else, because I know what that feels like. I know, what it feels like to feel like you have nobody to lean on, you have nobody to talk to, you have um, no ground. And the fact that there's people out there that feel that way about us already is probably one of the most satisfying parts of this. And I just want people to continue to know that. I want that kind of to grow, for more people to hear that we're here for that, so that we can just reach as many people as possible.
Beautiful. Absolutely
Um,
beautiful.
I would say the takeaway, like the summary that I would give, is that the Moonlit Margin Sisterhood is a book club, but we're beyond a book club. We're a diverse, intentional community of women built on connection, depth, and a shared love for storytelling in every way. Whether it's, reading, listening, narrating, writing, storytelling is beautiful. And we created this space because surface level book talk just wasn't enough. The book community wasn't uplifted. So we wanted more meaning, more presence and more intention. And if I had to give a piece of advice, honestly, I would say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I would say that we really just need to listen more. I feel like a lot of the book talk spaces, everyone goes into, these lives or these spaces and they just talk about themselves and they're not leading with curiosity. They don't ask you what book you're reading or how it made you feel. And we're trying to do that. We're trying to carve out a space where an author, a narrator, or a reader, or content creator, anyone in the book community can come to us and have that conversation. But I would say that it needs to happen more. We need to talk more. Don't look at someone like they're crazy because they want to tell you about this amazing book they read. Like, listen to it, talk to them, be there, be present and listen. I would say that would be my piece of advice.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And on that note, viewers and listeners, we include this amazing double feature here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. Want to give a huge thank you to Kaya and Aleia for coming on the show, making their official debut. And hopefully this is not the last time we see the Moonlit Margins Sisterhood here on the channel. So, ladies, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. Where can people find the Moonlit Sisterhood Margins on social media to interact with and connect? And do you have any plugs you would like to share with the viewers and listeners? Any upcoming episodes people can expect?
Yeah. So we tried to make all our handles the same. So if you go to Instagram, TikTok, it's just at moonlitmarginssisterhood.com. At Moonlit Margins Sisterhood. And then our website is the moonlitmarginssisterhood.com. That's where you can apply. If you go to the right and click join on the menu, you can apply. If you just scroll down on the main page and want to give us feedback and you watch this and you have some thoughts, please do. Feedback is a gift. I stand by that. And then event-wise, we have 29 interviews this year. So it's posted on all of our socials. We're going to be interviewing all the way until the end of October and then taking November and December to really just spend time with our families. So it's almost, I would say it's the second and third Friday of every month at 6 p.m. Pacific time. You can join us on TikTok Live at Moonlit Margins Sisterhood to be able to watch those and interact with the authors and narrators. We do take questions from the comment section. So, if you want to join, please do follow us and we will follow back. We always do.
Excellent. I'll provide all that stuff down below in the description of this video. Thank you everyone for joining us for another amazing double feature here on the channel. A huge thank you to the wonderful ladies of the Sisterhood for coming on the show. And as I said, this will not be the last time you will see them. If you would like them to come back in a follow-up interview later this year, like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to stay up to date. And as always, viewers and listeners, this has been the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill, signing out. Wish you all a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Happy New Year, everyone, and we'll see you all in the next episode.